Hi everybody, I'm back. Welcome to another episode of DIY Startup. The stream didn't work out too good last time, so try it again and see what happens. Please let me know how I'm doing in the chat this time. Audio okay outside? And playbacks this time. Stream, let's see if it's stream. Stream says stream is healthy. Stream health is excellent. Welcome to another episode of DIY Startup with John Ash. Let me start recording this, actually. I'm recording right now. Welcome to another episode of DIY Startup with John Ash. This is brought to you by E2E Society. E2E Society is a group of entrepreneurs. We are all entrepreneurs, and I'm pretty sure that if you are in this live stream, you are an entrepreneur too, just like me. Okay, looks like it sounds pretty good. You are an entrepreneur too, just like me. Okay, good. Let's go. Okay, so Dan, thanks for coming in the chat, by the way. Dan is saying that audio is clear. That's pretty good. So at least I know I got one person out there. Let's see, analytics. I have one concurrent viewer. I guess it's only Dan. That's all right. Okay. This episode, we are going to be talking about crowdsourcing. We'll talk about crowdsourcing fundamentals. What is crowdsourcing? We're going to talk all about it. Okay, so this series, if you don't know by now, if this is the first time you're here, DIY Startup is geared toward the one person with an idea who wants to make a business. During these episodes, we're going to talk about all the different all the different facets, and all the different decisions that you have to make to successfully have an enterprise in 2020, which is not easy. I will tell you that right now. The purpose of these talks and lectures, I guess we want to call it, is to make you aware of some things that maybe you weren't quite aware of before. Just to get you starting to look around your world and look at other businesses that are already established and trying to figure out how to make yours established also. Okay, so today we are going to talk about, come on. Hold on. I see the first one. Hold on, I'm sorry. One second. Okay. Dan says audio is clear. I'm having a couple of problems today. What's my machine? What's the problem? Hey, we're there. Okay, now let's get the show on the road. This is a sketchy one. I'm all over the shop today. Okay, crowdsourcing versus venture capital. This is the topic of tonight's discussion. Where do you get money from? Lots of good ideas are started in basements with no capital at all. Apps are free to build. Websites are very cheap to originate and build. Prototypes and first iteration and first proof of concept is very, very cheap to make with a couple of bucks worth of parts we have around in the parts bin. But at some point, you're going to need to come up with some kind of money. You're going to need to come up with money for media. You're going to need to come up with money for production. You're going to need to come up with money for something to grow. Even if you want to try to attract and pay consultants to help out with your work, like electrical engineers or plastics people or whatever, what have you, you're going to need to come up with some kind of crowdsourcing. So basically, in 2020, I think there's two main ways that you can go about doing this. There's the old way, the venture capital investments, where you have people that want to just give you money. They invest in your company. We're going to talk about that. There's good things and bad things about that, which we'll have a slide about, actually. And this crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is amazing. It's been happening for the last about 10 years or so. There are lots of platforms that you can use to do crowdsourcing. And they give you almost the same result as venture capital. A little bit different. You're kind of more on your own. That's a real DIY startup thing, crowdsourcing. And there's a couple of different platforms that you can use for that. So let's talk about that. So here are some crowdsourcing platforms that you can use. And when we say crowdsourcing, most of these basically work from, they're mostly internet-based platforms, and you create a campaign, you come up with a device or a art project or something like a CD recording or a book or a movie or something like that, and you need some funding for it. So basically, use a crowdsourcing platform for that. By far, the most popular one and the longest, strongest running is Kickstarter. Everybody knows Kickstarter. If you haven't looked at Kickstarter, we're gonna do it right now. Actually, it's by far the most popular. Thousands and thousands of products go up every couple of months. Kickstarter is the best I find for. I feel the best for devices and inventions and things like that. So let's look at some. Let's take a look at some Kickstarter pages. Take a look at Kickstarter. Hold on a second. Kickstarter. This is the Kick. Yeah, I got it. I'm going. I'm moving. I'm moving. Audio's clear. Okay, good. This is the Kickstarter main page right here, and if you look at that, they list some recommended for you campaigns. All of these are campaigns. All of these are projects in one way or another. All of these are inventions or art projects or other things that you can basically invest in. One thing I want to show you down here on the bottom of the Kickstarter page is the Creators Corner. Here they have loads and loads of resources for you. Kickstarter wants you to be successful. They want you to run a successful campaign, make them a little bit of money, and they want you to come back and do it again. So they have a whole bunch of different things here. Kickstarter Creator Handbook, great place to start. It tells you everything you need to do from start to finish. Everything that I'm not going to tell you here, because this discussion is just an overview. The Kickstarter Creator Handbook will tell you. And there's some really, really good things on here. So check out Kickstarter if you check out a Kickstarter. Just check out the page and they'll give you all resources. Let's look at a Kickstarter campaign. This is just one I picked out of. This is a newer one, so it only started a couple of days ago. I think three days ago or so. It seemed like a pretty good idea when I saw it. It's called a carbon net. So somebody came up with the idea of making a carbon fiber basketball net. Great idea if you're only going to sell people one, because chances are good that would be the last basketball net you'll have to buy for the rest of your life, you know, or so it seems. So the most important part right here is pledged of. So they started a campaign and they set out a money goal of $11,803. And they think that if they raise $11,803, they can manufacture these carbon fiber basketball nets and make a little bit of money. So they probably sat down with a calculation of, well, it costs us this, and if we make 1,000, it will cost us $11,803. So let's set the goal for $11,000. Right now, they only have $169 pledged. They're very low, but they have 57 days to go. They have 2 months. There are two things that you set when you do a crowdsourcing platform. You set the goal, the goal that you're looking for, the money that you're looking for to start manufacturing, and you set time dimension. So this is 60 days, 2 months. I think that's pretty much the standard. We can look at another one. So they have 11 backers. So what's a backer? So Kickstarter doesn't really work like eBay or Amazon, where you're not buying something directly. The thing isn't made yet. They have to make it. They're trying to raise money to make it. You have to understand that. So you pledge to buy one. So if you look at the side, there are all these things. So right here you look, it says, pledge 33 euro or more to get a white carbon net. Pledge 28 euro or more, to get a black carbon net. So if you want one of these carbon net things, you pledge 28 euro. 28 euro goes in a bank account that Kickstarter holds, and a whole bunch of people pledge. And then if your campaign gets satisfied, if you raise the $11,803 goal, Kickstarter pays you the money, and then you get to start manufacturing whatever you're going to manufacture. So there's a couple of different ways that you could buy these things. Pledge $33 or more to get a white one. Pledge 50 euro to get 2 black ones. A double carbon net, 2 white ones, 5 black ones. So the big one down here is €200 to get 10 carbon nets. That's awesome. If you're a city or a school, man, you have 10 carbon nets, that's amazing. That'd be the last basketball nets you ever have to buy. So if you look at their presentation, okay, they have a picture, there's a video here, which I really actually want to play that. It's okay. There's a video of the thing in action. It's not really much to demonstrate about a carbon fiber basketball net, but they'll show it to you. Reinvention of the basketball net. Yeah, right. You didn't reinvent anything. She used different materials. Okay, there's black and white available. They show you this guy with a very expensive pencil. And they got like a little presentation here. Oh, there's another one. They give you a comparison of a regular net of carbon net. Of course, carbon fiber net is going to be better than anything else. I like how they have this one manually inspected in the EU. I guess traditional nylon nets are never inspected in the European Union. Futuristic and modern look. Okay, that might be a little bit of a stretch. It's a carbon fiber basketball net. Maybe it looks hot. I don't know. Okay, so they set up a whole presentation. Anyway, we'll move on from the carbon net. Looks pretty interesting. To me, anyway, I would like a carbon net. I might pledge to get one. So you have this goal and you have a timeline. You can go over the goal. Very, very simple to go over the goal. In fact, then you have a scaling problem. There's one classic example I want to show you. There's one from back in 2013, if you can believe that. There's PrinterBot. This was a Kickstarter that I actually invested in. I went for the PrinterBot 3D printer. In fact, I got it. If you want to see it, I'll show it to you. Hold on one second. Oh my God, I do have my PrinterBot. Wild. This is the first 3D printer I ever had. It was crazy. I still have it from 2013. It works too, which is wild. Oh. See? Anything up there? Mine's white though. Okay. So if you look at the PrinterBot thing, this is the most important part that I want to point out about PrinterBot. On the side, 1,808 backers pledged $830,000 to buy PrinterBots. So let's look at how much they cost. Let's look at how much the pledge was. I think I bought the big one. I think I paid pledge US $499 or more for the full PrinterBot kit. Estimated delivery of 2012, if you can believe that. I don't think it came in 2012. This is the full kit, so $500 a piece. They got $830,000 to pledge to make that thing. I did, Dan. I did. I showed it. I showed it. See, I don't know if I have any other Kickstarter stuff around here. Let's see it, Dan wrote. So $800,000. But if you look at here, it says pledged of $25,000 goal. They didn't want to make $800,000. They only wanted to make a couple of kits. They just wanted to sell $25,000 worth of kits. All of a sudden, he had to produce $830,000 worth of these PrinterBot kits. This was a pretty historic one. In fact, a lot of people who know about Kickstarter will talk about PrinterBot quite a bit because it was one of the first ones that went over by so much. Well, that's like 16 times or something, or maybe more, 32 times. Over what their pledge campaign goal was. So all of a sudden they had something that's some think is a pretty good problem to have. They had a scaling problem. All of a sudden now you got a problem with scaling. Now you got to make $800,000 worth of PrinterBots. So I hope you did your math right when you figured out how much it costs to make and ship them. I hope you got enough people to assemble all those kits, and I hope that your suppliers can possibly make all the metal rods and the gears and the wires and the motors that it takes to make $830,000 worth of stuff. So this guy, his pledge went way, way over. Same thing can happen to you if you're crowdsourcing. So you might want to consider that. Actually, PrinterBot turned out to be a very successful company for a very, very long time. I remember they had a warehouse packed with an army full of people. They hired a whole bunch of people. It was fantastic. It was good company until kind of the bottom. I think the bottom kind of dropped out of the 3D printer manufacturing thing. Unfortunately, I think Chinese parts became cheap, and PrinterBot simply couldn't make it. But I'm a PrinterBot fan. Oh, I'll tell you that right now. Okay, so let's look at it. So you decide that you want to use one of these crowdsourcing things. Let's see, where do we go? Let's look at the next one. Let's look at the next one. Bring back the slides. Let's look at Indiegogo. So Indiegogo is another crowdsourcing platform. That's a mixed device and art project. So if you go on Indiegogo.com, you take a look, and there's some devices and art projects. If you want to make a device or a service or something, and there's art projects in there too. Indiegogo is a pretty good place to go. In fact, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at some Indiegogo stuff right now. Now, got it. All right, so this is fun, by the way. So Indiegogo, this is the Indiegogo page. This is the film section. So if you look at this, there's films. So in Indiegogo, people want to produce their own films, and they need a little bit of money to do that, and they're going to go to crowdsourcing to get their independent film made. Fantastic idea. If you look at some of these, it's very interesting if you look at them. So they have $5,478 raised. They have 52 days left on their campaign. They're 55%. They're going to definitely make it. They'll definitely be funded. Take a look at this one next to it. This is Jason Rising, a Friday the 13th fan film. Awesome. $649 raised. They are 129% over their budget. They have 31 days still left. They're going to be 200%. They're going to get $1,500, and they're going to be able to make, like, maybe they'll be able to make like an even better one. This one here, very interesting. $21,827 raised on their campaign. They are 146% over what they wanted. So what is that? $16,000 they wanted? 15,000, 16,000, 15? They have 16 days left. They're going to be able to make a pretty good Shadow Marsh horror movie. There are a lot of things. I want to just show one more example from Indiegogo. This is another classic fail, because it's very easy to fail on these crowdsourced platforms. Now, PrinterBot actually on Kickstarter, they produced. They sent out all their things. I have mine down there, and I think that there were thousands of them made. There's one from Indiegogo that everybody talks about. It was called the Scarp. The Scarp is a classic example of a fail. I don't want to really beat them up too bad, because everybody kind of does, but this was all the rage back in 2015. 2015, if you were following crowdsourced campaign platforms, boy, you were talking about the Scarp, because everybody wanted the damn Scarp. So it was a laser razor. So it was supposed to be a razor that had lasers coming out the side, and you could laser off your epidermis. I don't know, you can laser off your first layer of skin or something. Yeah, I don't know, but they were trying to go for that one. It's pretty interesting. I don't have that one. I do not have the Scarp because it never existed. If you look at here, if you look at this video right here, this is not a picture of the Scarp. This is a rendering, probably a CAD rendering, a very good one. Fusion 360 maybe or something can do that. I don't know. In 2015, what were the hot CAD platforms back there? The hot CAD platforms were Creo. Can make a rendering like that. So anyway, so they raised $507. They raised $500,000. 2,787 people wanted this thing. Amazing. They never delivered. They couldn't actually do it. Like I said, I don't want to beat them up too bad, but everybody wanted a Scarp. Man, even I wanted one. Who doesn't want a laser razor? That's amazing. They went out and they got some press, which was super bad because they fell really, really hard. What do they have here on their thing? So they got a couple of dudes in the basement. They got the renderings there. A couple of other dudes. They had to get some people. Lead firmware guy, lead manufacturing, lead electrical engineer. Here's we're going to use optical fiber to do it. There's another rendering. Okay. Anyway, it never came to be. They had to end up giving all the money back, which is okay because they kind of never had it in the first place. The Scarp razor was $289. They wanted $289. Shipping 2016. I don't know. Scarp never actually came to be. So they gave the money back, which is okay. That's how crowdsourcing works. No harm, no foul, I guess, because you're not really buying the thing, like I said before. You're just kind of like pledging to buy it. And that's kind of one of the good things about crowdsourcing platforms is you kind of have nothing to lose, except your pride, your bragging rights, I guess. So when you're thinking about doing a crowdsourcing campaign, where should your idea be when you're engaging crowdsourcing platforms? You want to make an app, you want to make a web service, you want to make a device, you want to make an art project. Where exactly should you be in the process, I feel, before you start like thinking about making a campaign? They're best engaged during the concept and prototype stage of a device product. Okay, you need to have a solid concept. You need to have a first working prototype or a strong something in order to actually make this thing work. For an art project, you have to engage. You have to find a small audience. So that Jason Friday the 13th fan movie, they obviously have like a pretty small audience. People know about it. You could be selling fried gold, but if nobody knows about it, then you're not going to sell any. So for an art project, engage after you find a small audience. You got a couple of people that want to buy your book. You go, okay, great, I'll start a crowdsourcing thing. You got a couple of people that like the music that you make. Okay, great, I'll do a crowdsourcing and we'll make some albums, things like that. I feel that it's engage after a small audience. When you design a campaign, it requires a lot of media, as you saw before. It requires photos, videos. So for a device project, you got to demonstrate a prototype or first iteration proof of concept. You have to have at least something that you can hold in the video, like the carbon hoop, whatever it was, carbon net. I'm pretty sure it wasn't too difficult to make a prototype or first iteration proofs of concept of that. They kind of had to have that before they did the crowdsourcing because you have to have pictures and things like that of that. So it's not too bad of a place to be. Let's take a look at the chat. Let's check in. Nobody's there. Nobody's complaining. So I guess it's working out okay. What are some of the good things and the bad things about crowdsourced campaigns? Let's take a look at that. Made a little slide, tell you some information. One of the good things about crowdsourcing campaigns, you did it yourself. You actually put it together. Holy smokes. It shows everybody the strength of your team and your ideas. That's amazing. If you can put together a successful crowdsourcing platform campaign and deliver the product and successfully complete it, and if you manage to make $3, I don't know, I'm going to set that as the bar, $3, but you manage to make money, you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I am not kidding. If you can put all that together, you have what it takes to run your own business. No kidding. That's a really good litmus test. You are a DIY startup. You get a thumbs up from John Ash, DIY startup, if you could successfully complete a Kickstarter campaign. It shows everybody the strength of your team, investors. You complete that Kickstarter campaign with enough interest, investors will be beating down your door trying to give you some money to fully realize your project. It's fantastic. So it gives you an automatic focus group for feedback. That's great. You get a lot of support and a lot of action on your crowdsource. You got a good idea. You don't get anybody wanting to pledge money to it. Chances are pretty good you have to revisit your concept or idea, or just try again later. Maybe you were in the wrong place, wrong time. You know, like the Scarp, it was a little bit ahead of its time. Okay, the great thing about crowdsourcing is that it causes you to be realistic about the cost of goods and pricing. So you got to really sit down. When you start setting a goal, it causes you to really have to sit down and think about, how much do I need to make this thing? How much is it actually going to cost me? The cost of goods, the COG, that's the most important, the most vital metric when you're making a device. You better know how much it costs you to make 1 or 10 or 30. You better have a pretty good idea. because that, along with a couple other things, are going to influence how you price it. Pricing. So you have the cost of goods. You know how much the thing actually physically costs you in parts to make. You better know how much time it takes to put together, how much the packaging you got to pay yourself. Your engineers, if you got to pay, if you got any consultants working on it, you got to pay them. If you get bad product, let's say you get 2 or 3 bum ones in 100 batch, you got a 3% fail rate, which is awesome, by the way. If you get a 3% failure rate in your product, that's like amazing. You got to pay for that, and all of that is included in the pricing. That's why iPhones cost so much. Testing, all that stuff. You know, a lot of resources go into making a good iPhone. So the good thing about it is that it causes you to carefully examine all of those costs and find manufacturers. Because when you're thinking about how much it's going to cost you to make the thing, you got to go find a plastics guy to make the plastics and have a conversation with them about how much it costs. So it causes you to like fully realize a lot of the production stuff very, very early in advance, which is pretty good. Because a lot of times, it's only when you're deep in the product, when you have a prototype and it's working, and you actually get somebody that wants to, then it's later in the project sometimes that you start examining the costs, and that's not, sometimes it doesn't work out. The cons. What are the bad things about crowdsourcing? It is a lot. Oh, I put lost. Wait. Let me fix my typo before I go on. I put the S in the wrong place. Oh, I don't need a customer. Lots of work. That's right. Lots of work. It is a lot of work. I'm not even kidding. You got to manage all the stuff. You are doing everything that the DIY startup guy does. You come up with the idea, you're managing the production, you're doing the testing, now you're managing a Kickstarter campaign, you're making media, you're making all this stuff like that. It's got to tie in with a website. It's lots and lots of work. The platform itself has demands that you have to meet. Kickstarter will set milestones for you. You must meet those milestones. After your campaign completes successfully, you have like a short amount of time before they start giving you cash. Now, Kickstarter holds on to the pledge money, and then once the campaign is complete, they start dispersing funds to you in chunks. So you need to do things, you need to hit milestones in order for Kickstarter or Indiegogo to start dispersing money to you to make your actual product, to start doing the thing. They want to see paperwork, and they want to see due dates met. It's not easy to do when you have Kickstarter on your back asking you to hurry up and deliver the product because it's been more than a year. They give you a certain limit, deadline limit, of when you actually have to deliver the product after the campaign is finished. So 60-day campaign, let's say they give you 3 months. You have to actually actually have it in people's hands within a reasonable amount of time. Very, very difficult to do, especially if you have a big scaling problem like Brook Drum did. Okay. The other bad thing is that you got to be in the prototype. You got to be in the prototype phase already. You got to have a working thing. It's good and bad, but you can't have a good idea. It won't get you that far on a crowdsourcing platform. It's like with most things, I suppose. Let's see. Everybody doing okay? Let me check in with the chat. All okay? Seems to be all okay with me. Great. I'm gonna have a sip of water if that's okay. You're gonna watch me do it. Great. What else we're gonna talk about? One more thing I want to talk about is Patreon. There's another platform that I want to show you before we end that. This is the Patreon homepage. What is Patreon? Patreon is for art. Okay, let's say you have a YouTube live stream. You want a couple bucks, maybe buy something, background, more books, poster, better camera. How do you do that? You get followers on Patreon. So you start a thing on Patreon, and then I don't know, that's kind of glitchy. Your fans contribute money to you they pledge money basically every month to you. Who uses Patreon? All the stuff, podcasters like me, musicians, gaming creators, creators of all kinds. Okay, let's look at a Patreon campaign. There's one in particular I like. Her name is Fran Blanche. Fran Blanche is an old-time electronics person. If you don't know her YouTube channel, take a look at it. She has old electronics. She takes things apart and puts them together. Pretty big fan of Fran Blanche. This Patreon actually, or so she says, the Patreon allows her to be independent. She gets donations from people who join her Patreon thing. I forgot what they call them. Patrons. They call them patrons. So right down, if you look, she has 1,479 patrons. And there's different levels. So you could pledge $1 a month, $2 a month, $3.14 per month, and there's a couple of other levels. And the money goes directly to Fran every month, which is fantastic. So that she can keep doing the things that she's doing without relying on, I don't know, any kind of commercial investment. So when you, or ads, which nobody ever ships Fran things to review, you know. So if you look down at the bottom, there are things that you can unlock if you become a patron. So usually Patreon has special content and special things that you can look at if you're a Patreon subscriber. Some of the audio, some of the music stuff, they'll have like special recordings or special limited edition stuff that you can take a look at or listen to or download or software, something like that. If you're a Patreon subscriber, if you're a patron to them, which is good. Let's go to analytics. We got one viewer. It's probably Dan. Stream is healthy. It's good. All right. How long have I been on for? Half hour. Nice. Okay, so let's take a look and discuss the old way. The old way is venture capital investors. You talk for a half hour. Think it's easy? It's not easy. This is the old way. Venture capital investors. Basically, you have a pretty good idea. You pitch it to somebody with a lot of bucks or a firm with a lot of bucks, and they give you money, and then you make your thing. You start building your business off of that. Good things and bad things about that. One of the good things about venture capital investors is you get instant cash. Cha-ching! Check in the bank account. Bang! You get $4 million or whatever it is to do what you want with, to build your business. That's awesome. That's incredible. That's like a dream. It allows you to do things that you can't do when you're doing crowdsourcing or if you're doing a DIY startup, building stuff in your basement like I am over there. I can show you my workbench. Someday I'll show you my workbench. Not now. It allows you to go to trade shows if that's still a thing. I don't know if it is. But CES was big. If you got a good invention, you get a lot of exposure. Can't go to trade shows anymore, but it would allow you to do something like that. At CES, I knew one firm that spent about $40,000 for 3 days at CES just demonstrating their technology. It's amazing the cost you have to pay. It allows you to file patents quickly. Patents are very money intensive, very time intensive. I'm talking thousands of dollars and months of time. If you have investors, you can do that. And you can hire professional people to do that. And they push patent. They don't push you through the patent process, but they get the preparation done very quickly for you. There's a whole sheaf of papers that you have to produce when you're making a patent, especially a technical one. Like if you're trying to patent an app or a method or something, oh boy, you got to produce a lot of stuff. It's not like the old days. And it takes a lot of time. It takes months and months to get an approval. 5 months, 9 months until you hear from the patent office. And then they're telling you that you got to revise it. So you revise it, you do it again. You got to wait another 5 months, 9 months. It's not easy to do that. And you have cash, it makes things a little bit easier to do it. Another good thing of venture capital investors is your investor connections. Investors love other investors, and they love um, organizations and things like that. They can actually bring a lot of stuff into you. Maybe an investor is a cross investor in a different firm, a software firm that might be able to provide resources to help you. Maybe they have a manufacturing connection; they can help you with that. Maybe you know, they can move things around paperwork wise to make it easier to run your business. And the good thing about venture capital is it allows you to contact other investors. Maybe I don't really recommend having a bunch under your belts because of the cons. Let's take a look at the cons. Venture capital investors always expect a return on investment. They want money for lending you money. They're not in the charity business. They expect after a year or two of pumping money into your organization that you will pay some back. Oh yes. In fact, it's in the contract. You got to do it. If not, you're on the hook for it, or you go bankrupt. One or the other. Investors can easily influence your design, your service, or your image. Easily influence your design. Easily influence your service because they kind of like are funding your whole business, especially if you're a non-revenue producer. You have no contracts. You're not producing anything. An investor walks in one day and they tell you, you got to, no, we don't want to do this. We want to do this other thing. Don't make it black, make it red. Oh, company colors are too bad. The mood and the styling. We're going to change the styling of the company. Next thing you know, I got the styling. Oh, here's the guy. Here's a friend. I know him. You got to put him on the payroll because I know him. Next thing you know, you're stuck with a guy that cooks fish in a microwave or something like that, because the investors tell you to do it, so you kind of have to do it. You're on the hook. One big thing about taking investor money, listen very carefully. They expect you to be accountable for how the money is spent. You can't take the money and buy a bunch of ping pong tables because they're going to want to know where the investment went. I mean, if you're in the ping pong, I take that back. I take that back. If you're in the ping pong, making ping pong rackets or balls, you got to buy ping pong tables to try them out on. But anyway, you have to be very careful how you handle the cash, and you have to be very accountable. They want lists and they want documents, and there's meetings, investor meetings you have to go to and produce documents of where the money is burning, where the money's going, where the money's coming from. Try doing business with one of them on your back. See how far you get. You think it's easy? It's not easy. Sound and video is good. Thanks, Dan. Okay. So that's pretty good. There's another platform. Which I can find it. Oop. Bear with me 1 second. There's something else that I want to show you. This is worth it. This is worth it. Hold on. There's a crowdsourcing platform I want to show you. That's right in. Is this interesting watching me type? No, it's not very interesting. Entrepreneurship. Okay. Man, I wish I had the link to this. Okay, I'll show you what I'm looking at. Okay, this is the Entrepreneurship Foundation. This is the local foundation in Fairfield County. They have lots of things. Entrepreneurshipfoundation.org, run by a great guy, Mike Rohr. Boy, talk about a one-man band. Oh, he is the definition of a DIY startup. Take this whole thing. He put this whole thing together from scratch. There's something that they have here. They have a crowdfunding platform. I just want to show you, because I think it works like go to crowdfunding. Hubbub is a hubbub.net. So this, I think this works like a Patreon or an Indiegogo. You might want to take a look at this. The Entrepreneur, ef.hubbub.net. I'll put the link in the description in the video. this is a pretty good place to get started. So I think you can put your projects up, you put your project up there and tell people about it, and they can give you funding to get things done. But this isn't under the umbrella of one of the bigger ones like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. This is a local one, and that actually, Hubbub, I think, I don't know, but they might lean on you a little bit less. I can try it out. But anyway, there's lots of places that you can go to get money for your project. We just talked about two. We talked about the new way and the old way. Crowdsourcing is kind of like the new way, and venture capital is kind of like the old way, I suppose. The traditional way. Let's say that. It's traditional way. It's looking pretty good. How long am I going for? 41? Anything in the chat? Any questions? Questions for me? This happens every Friday night at 8 o'clock. All right. This one was a little bit late. I'm sorry about that. I had a little bit of audio problems. I don't know why. But I'm going to do this every Friday night at 8 o'clock. I think in the next episode or two, I'm going to have a guest. Good one. I'll let you know who it is once I finalize and put all that stuff together. But there's some good content coming up. Let's take a look at the topics that I have, and I can decide what I'm going to do next week. If anybody wants, tell me sound and video is good. Okay. I have some other topics. So which ones did we do? Let's check off the ones that we already did. We did styling and branding, which if you didn't catch that one, look at the YouTube channel. It's awesome. I talked for half an hour on styling, branding, and mood. Oh man, it's on the YouTube channel. Review it. Take a look at that one. Today we talked about funding. Sub $100,000. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about we need the millions of dollars and we have to make something big. We could talk about designing products. We could talk about supporting old products, how to develop new products when you're trying to support the old products. We could talk about business life in contemporary times, social media, videos and things like that. I think next time. I think we're going to talk about business life in contemporary times. That's what we're going to talk about. This is a good place to talk about things like that. This is the place to talk about. We're going to talk about business life in contemporary times. We're going to have a discussion about websites. Very, very important. Man, if you want a successful enterprise in 2020, you need to have a successful working website with no typos. That's very important. You need to deal with social media. You got Twitter. You can have fried gold, but you have to tell people about it. There's all different social media platforms. Setting them up is a colossal problem, and you got to maintain them. You got to keep them active because people expect you to do that. And we'll talk about that next week, which is a huge thing. Welcome to 2020, right? 2021 almost, right? Videos. Exactly what I'm doing right here. Get comfortable talking, even if it's talking to yourself like I am right now. I'm only talking to me and one concurrent viewer. Get comfortable talking to yourself because you're going to be making a lot of videos. You're going to be talking to a lot of investors if you go that way. You're going to be talking to a lot of business associations and things like that. And just get used to it in general. So we're going to talk about that. Next week's topic, discussion, business life in contemporary times. We'll talk about all that stuff. So come back Friday, 8 p.m. And we'll do that. Maybe if you could tell more people about it, we could get a good live chat going. I'd like to get a pretty good community. I'd like to get about 60 viewers. That'd be pretty good. Then I can interact with that. Once I get more concurrent viewers, then I'm going to start having interviews because I'm not really going to waste my gold on talking to myself. It's pretty good. Okay, great. It was suggested that I come up with a clever sign-off line, which I don't have. But come back next Friday night at 8 o'clock and we'll talk about contemporary business life. If you have anything to talk about, live chat. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for joining me. Bye.